Most things people believe are probably wrong, even if they really believe them and already try to convince other people. The most dangerous people in your life aren't enemies or criminals. They're the experts you trust. Because they're wrong about almost everything, but they're so convincing that you'll follow their advice straight off a cliff and thank them for it. Want proof? There's a 10-second test that can expose fake expertise instantly, and once you learn it, you'll see it everywhere. In 1945, an Austrian philosopher named Karl was watching the smartest people in the world do exactly this. Nobel Prize winners, famous scientists, renowned philosophers, all confidently sharing theories about life, reality, and human behavior. And Popper realized something disturbing. Nobody actually knew how to tell the difference between real knowledge and really convincing nonsense. These weren't random people on social media. These were legitimately brilliant minds who could split atoms and cure diseases. But they couldn't answer one simple question. How do you know what you think you know is actually true? So Popper did something that changed everything. He created a simple test that could separate real knowledge from fake knowledge in about 10 seconds. He called it falsifiability. And once you understand it, you'll see how much of what passes for wisdom in self-help books, news articles, expert opinions, and your own beliefs is actually untestable garbage that sounds smart but means nothing. This test reveals something uncomfortable. Most of what confident people say with complete certainty can't actually be proven right or wrong, which means it's not knowledge at all, including probably most of the stuff you're certain about. Ready to find out how much of your worldview is built on quicksand? Part 2. The test that cuts through BS. Popper's falsifiability test is embarrassingly simple. It's like someone spent years trying to open a door by pushing really hard, then Popper walks over and pulls. Here's the whole thing. If you can't imagine any evidence that would prove something wrong, then it's not knowledge. It's just opinion dressed up to look important. That's it. Popper called it falsifiability, because real knowledge has to be falsifiable, meaning you could prove it wrong if the evidence disagreed. Think about how Netflix works. When it recommends a movie and you hate it, that's useful information. The system learns and improves. But imagine if Netflix said, "You'll love this movie," and when you hated it, they said, "You didn't watch it with the right attitude," or "You need to understand the deeper meaning." That's not a recommendation system. That's something else entirely. Now watch this falsifiability test expose some popular advice. Follow your passion and money will follow. What would prove this wrong? Passionate people staying broke? Oh, those don't count because they weren't following their true passion, or they didn't work hard enough, or they had limiting beliefs. The advice became unfalsifiable. No matter what happens, the guru can never be wrong. Everything happens for a reason. What would disprove this? Random, meaningless events? Believers just say you can't see the bigger picture yet, or it's teaching you something important. Another unfalsifiable belief, which means it's worthless as actual knowledge. Positive thinking attracts positive outcomes. What would prove this false? Positive thinkers getting terrible results? Obviously they had secret negative thoughts, or they weren't grateful enough, or they didn't believe hard enough. See the pattern? These ideas can explain any outcome, which means they predict nothing. They're like intellectual Swiss Army knives that claim to fix everything, but actually fix nothing. But here's where it gets personal. What about your core beliefs? The ones that guide your dating choices, career moves, and major life decisions. If you can't think of clear evidence that would force you to abandon these beliefs, you might be living by unfalsifiable superstitions instead of actual knowledge. Part 3. Why smart people believe nonsense. Here's something that will disturb you. Intelligence doesn't protect you from believing false things. It makes you better at believing false things more convincingly. Your smartest friend probably believes something completely wrong, and they can defend it with studies, logic, and arguments that sound bulletproof. Smart people aren't less likely to believe nonsense. They're just better at making their nonsense sound sophisticated. This is why flat earthers include people with engineering degrees who build complex mathematical models. Why climate change deniers include people with PhDs who can out-argue most environmentalists. Why brilliant doctors sometimes promote treatments that don't work. Intelligence is like having a powerful engine in your car. It doesn't prevent you from driving in the wrong direction. It just gets you there faster. Here's what happens. Smart people are excellent at something called motivated reasoning. When they want to believe something, they can find evidence for almost anything. Your brain doesn't seek truth. It seeks to be right about what it already believes. So it becomes a lawyer for your existing opinions, not a scientist looking for facts. The smarter you are, the better lawyer you become. You can build elaborate defenses for positions you formed for completely emotional reasons. This explains why your engineering friend believes in conspiracy theories, or why your professor colleague stays in an obviously bad relationship, or why your brilliant boss makes consistently poor business decisions. Intelligence doesn't make you more likely to be right. It makes you more likely to be wrong in ways that sound really, really convincing. But experts might be the worst offenders. Economic forecasters predict market crashes about as accurately as random guessing. Political analysts call elections barely better than chance. Investment advisors often lose money while charging fees for their expertise, but they never say, "I don't know what will happen." They build more complex models, use more sophisticated language, and project more confidence. Why? Because once you become an expert in one area, your brain tricks you into thinking you understand everything else too. Your own brain does this constantly. You're good at your job, so you think you understand economics. You've been in relationships, so you feel qualified to give dating advice to everyone. You've made some good decisions, so you trust your judgment about everything. Each success inflates your confidence about areas where you might know nothing at all. Part 4. The certainty addiction. While studying why intelligent people resist new ideas, Popper discovered something crucial. Humans are psychologically addicted to feeling certain about things. Certainty literally triggers reward chemicals in your brain. When your brain decides it knows something, you get a small neurochemical high. Doubt feels uncomfortable, like withdrawal. This system made sense when our ancestors faced simple survival decisions. Is that rustling bush dangerous? Better assume yes and survive another day. But now we use this ancient certainty system for complex modern decisions about relationships, careers, and investments. The system that kept us alive in caves now keeps us wrong about almost everything important. Watch your own brain the next time someone challenges something you really believe. Your first reaction isn't curiosity, it's defense. You immediately start generating reasons why they're wrong and you're right. You're not seeking truth. Your brain is protecting its certainty supply. The smarter you are, the better you get at building these defenses. You can construct sophisticated theories to protect ideas you formed for completely irrational reasons. Real scientists understand this problem. Good scientists don't try to prove their ideas right. They try to prove them wrong. They use Popper's falsifiability principle. They actively look for evidence that would destroy their theories. When their experiments confirm their hypotheses, they learn nothing new. When their experiments fail and wreck their theories, they get excited because now they can build better theories. But most people do exactly the opposite. They collect evidence that confirms what they already believe and ignore evidence that contradicts it. You remember investment wins and forget losses. You remember advice that seemed to work and forget the times it backfired. You remember decisions that looked smart and rationalize away the failures. This isn't dishonesty. It's how your brain automatically maintains your certainty addiction. Your memory becomes a personal editor that only shows you the highlights. The cure exists, but most people can't handle it. Get comfortable being wrong about most things most of the time. Part 5. The backwards investigation. Here's the most revealing thing about human nature. When people try to discover truth, they use methods almost perfectly designed to keep them wrong. Most people decide what they want to believe first, then hunt for evidence that supports it. It's like being a detective who decides who's guilty before investigating the crime. This detective would find proof everywhere. The suspect was in the area. Guilty. He needed money. Motive. Someone saw a tall guy. Case closed. Meanwhile, the real criminal walks free. This is exactly how humans approach important questions. They choose their conclusion, then go shopping for supporting evidence. Using this method, I can prove almost anything. Watch me prove that ice cream makes you smarter. Smart people eat ice cream. Countries with higher ice cream consumption have better schools. Ice cream contains nutrients that support brain function. Happy people are more creative, and ice cream makes people happy. I just built a case for something obviously false using the same method most people use to validate their important beliefs. Popper's insight. The only way to test if something is true is to try as hard as possible to prove it's false. Instead of asking, "What evidence supports this?" ask, "What evidence would destroy this belief?" Instead of collecting examples that make you feel right, hunt for examples that would prove you wrong. Instead of reading sources that agree with you, find your smartest critics and listen to their arguments. This feels wrong. Your brain wants to collect evidence that confirms your intelligence. But that's exactly what keeps you wrong. Real truth seekers attack their own ideas harder than anyone else does. They look for evidence that would force them to change their minds. It's uncomfortable, but it actually works. Part 6. How to be wrong productively. After watching people struggle with uncertainty for decades, Popper realized something important. You can't eliminate being wrong, but you can be wrong in ways that teach you something useful. Most people are wrong like a broken GPS that keeps saying recalculating, but never learns. Smart people are wrong like a GPS that updates its maps and gets better over time. Here's how to upgrade your approach. Make specific predictions instead of vague beliefs. Instead of believing, "Good people get good things," try, "If I'm consistently honest and helpful for the next year, I should see improvements in my relationships and opportunities by specific date." Vague beliefs can never be tested. Specific predictions give you real data. Write down what would change your mind before you need to change it. Before committing to any important belief or strategy, write down exactly what evidence would make you abandon it. This prevents you from moving the goalposts when reality doesn't match your expectations. Track your predictions. Start recording specific forecasts about things you care about. Keep score honestly. Most people think they're much better at predicting outcomes than they actually are because they only remember their successes. Find intelligent people who disagree with you. For every important belief, find smart critics and study their arguments until you understand them completely. You're not trying to defeat them, you're trying to understand how reasonable people could see things differently. Test ideas cheaply before betting big. Instead of making major commitments based on untested assumptions, design small experiments that can fail without destroying you. Treat failures as valuable information, not disasters. Question your assumptions regularly. Create reminders to ask yourself, "What if I'm wrong about this?" Most people's confidence grows over time, even when their accuracy doesn't. When you approach wrongness this way, being wrong stops feeling like a personal failure and starts feeling like useful data that improves your next decision. This is completely different from how most people handle mistakes. They avoid situations where they might be proven wrong, which guarantees they never learn anything new. But when wrongness becomes part of your method, you can take intellectual risks that lead to real discoveries about how life actually works. Part 7. The Power of Not Knowing. Near the end of his career, someone asked Popper what he considered his most important contribution. Everyone expected him to mention falsifiability or his work on science. Instead, he said, "Teaching people that I don't know is often the smartest response to complex questions." Those 3 words, "I don't know," are more powerful than any degree, expert opinion, or confident-sounding theory. Most people avoid these words because they seem like admissions of ignorance. Actually, they're admissions of wisdom. They show you're smart enough to recognize when you don't know something. When you can say, "I don't know" comfortably, several things happen. Your brain stops wasting energy defending positions you can't support and starts focusing on actually figuring things out. You stop accidentally starting arguments and start having real conversations. You ask better questions instead of making statements you can't back up. But here's what's counterintuitive. People trust you more when you admit uncertainty than when you pretend to know everything. Would you rather get advice from someone who confidently answers every question, or someone who says, "I'm not sure about that, but here's how we could find out"? The first person sounds impressive, but is probably guessing. The second person is actually thinking about your situation. 3 phrases will make you more accurate than most people. "I don't know" prevents you from defending positions you can't actually defend. "I was wrong" allows you to update your beliefs when reality disagrees with them. "What would change my mind" helps you distinguish between real knowledge and emotional attachments disguised as knowledge. These phrases feel uncomfortable because they seem to reduce your authority. Actually, they increase your credibility and usefulness. In a world full of confident ignorance, comfortable uncertainty becomes a significant advantage. It helps you spot opportunities others miss, avoid disasters others create, and build relationships based on honesty instead of performance. The falsifiability revolution. Remember Popper's falsifiability principle. If you can't imagine evidence that would prove something wrong, it's not knowledge. It's opinion wearing a disguise. Apply this test to everything important: career strategies, relationship advice, investment ideas, health recommendations, political beliefs, life philosophies. Most won't survive, and that's good. You'll finally know which ideas are worth keeping. The beliefs that do survive, the ones that make specific predictions and risk being proven wrong, those are worth building your life around. If this exploration has made you question things you thought were certain, that's exactly the point. Doubt isn't the enemy of knowledge. It's where real knowledge begins. Next week, we're examining Aristotle's concept of eudaimonia and why the happiness you've been pursuing might actually be making you miserable. Subscribe now, because understanding true human flourishing could finally explain why success feels so empty. Your journey toward intellectual honesty starts with admitting you don't know as much as you thought, and that's exactly where real learning begins.